business.
John mentioned Steve Jobs. One of the things in the report, it says that market intelligence will require new tools to keep a constant finger on the pulse of consumers. Listening to consumers will become part of everyone's job. Steve Jobs didn't believe in marketing research or in taking the pulse of consumers. What was he right?
I'll start this one. This is a good one. I think if you're trying to figure out what customers will need 3 years from now or 5 years from now, you can't really ask them that. So he was good at that. He was good at seeing the future. I think if you're asking him about their most recent experience at the Apple Store, he didn't may not have read the reports, but they're a big Net Promoter user. I know the people who run that program, they listen to customer feedback extensively in the restaurant, in the retail environment, to understand how service happened and does the products work or not. So today's products, today's service, definitely need a lot of feedback for that. 5 years from now, you probably can't get that from a survey or a focus group, in my opinion.
We met with one of our retailers once, some of our executives, and they were talking about the whole idea of business planning. And the Google executive offered that Google doesn't plan out any more than 18 months because we don't believe that you can plan longer than that, or else you will miss the signals that are in the marketplace because you'll be so fixated on reaching your goal. And also at Google, and this was of interest to me because I usually don't sit around and talk to gentlemen like that, for those 18 months, we put 8 to 10 bets on the table. And if 2 of them work, they're happy with that. So there's no sort of beating of the breast of why did we do this wrong and what did we do wrong, and not a lot of looking backwards to try to figure out what went wrong. They merely put a lot of bets on the table, look at a short timeline, go for it, and then continually iterate their plans as they go forward based on what's happening around them. So very different from a lot of the retailers that we work with who have 5 and 10-year plans out. To your point, especially from a marketing perspective, who knows what the tools that are going to be available, and if you're building an infrastructure to support something that is no longer valid, you find yourself in a deep hole and having wasted a lot of money. So it's having sort of those evolutionary plans on the table that seem to be more appropriate for the future, given all the changes that we're going to see both in the consumer and in the marketing tools available to us.
He was really the marketer of our time, and while he might not have listened to customers and research in creating the products, he certainly talked to the customers' passions in marketing the products, right? I mean, it was really clear that the ad for an iPod, for example, was not going to be about how many megabits or gigabits. It was about the passion for music anywhere, and it wasn't about the iPhone wasn't about necessarily the different features. It was about how simple and beautiful in design it could be. And so I think that customers really engaged with those messages. So that worked for them.
Okay, good. You look like you're going to say something.
Yeah, I can't. I would tell you that I think a little bit of what he's saying is right and a little bit is wrong. I mean, when at Coke, we historically have had everybody knows what Coke stands for, and we market that and we build on that emotional connection of our brands to our consumers. But now in the age of social, consumers are defining, you hear this concept, consumers define what your brands are about. And so we're leery of kind of switching that pendulum to letting consumers define our brands. And so we listen, but I think we also have to build off of our history and how we've connected with consumers for 125 years. And so it's really for us kind of a blend. It's not one way or the other.
Good. I like to give the example in answering that, the difference between Sony and Apple. And Sony obviously developed the Walkman, wonderful product. What did the orientation become? Making it smaller, lighter, more memory, product focused. What did Apple do? They focused on problems consumers had that they could solve. So what problems? Well, organizing your music, having your music, the whole collection with you at all times, to be able to add to that your pictures that you want to show friends and whatnot. And you end up with an iPod instead of a smaller, lighter Walkman. Totally different way of thinking about things, focusing on the consumer need and what kinds of things you could solve in the way of problems for consumers versus focus on your product and make it better. Very big difference in orientation there. Companies sometimes do things that work and sometimes things that don't work out very well and they have to retrench. There's three very recent examples. One would be Netflix, breaking the company into two and doubling the price. The Gap with their logo fiasco. The one last week with Overstock.com changing their name to O.co, and then having to reverse back to the original. Why do missteps like this happen?
I'll take a swing at that. I go back to the question you asked just before. Steve Jobs had some colossal failures along the way. He definitely didn't listen to the research, but he swung and missed, and we just happened to be now in the time when he had about 5 or 6 years of just incredibleness. But when you had the mentality, you are going to swing and miss. And so no matter how much research you do and how much research you don't do, when you step out and make a big change, I think that goes with the territory. It's how you react to it and what you do after the fact that allows you to evolve and survive.
I think that's one of the things that people are most upset with Netflix about. It's not just their move, but the stumbling that they've done afterwards, and and it's not really clear, where it's going to net out, and Wall Street has kind of punished them for it.
Okay. One of the other things in the 2020 report is talking about social media, mobile devices, localization, all major forces converging together. Many cases, marketers know where you are, what you're doing. What are the implications of this convergence over the next several years for the things you all do?
Definitely Google, if any of you are working with us from an advertising perspective, you've seen a whole new raft of opportunities come out to take advantage of social, local, and mobile. So we do have the ability, for example, to target ads on your mobile phone to a specific radius around one of your locations, or conversely around one of your competitors' locations. So we are trying to offer advertisers the opportunity to engage from an advertising perspective in those things. I do think that, again, you're going to see continued iterations of some of our products. Some of you might be on Google Plus right now, and you'll see that suddenly you're going to start seeing your friends who are in your circles actually showing up in your search results, that potentially they +1 a brand that you're searching for or a product that you're searching for. So again, a little bit more visibility into your social circles within an existing product. So I probably shouldn't say this. I don't see Google suddenly making a right turn and inventing something different, although I work at Google, so that may happen. But we do see ourselves creating new products and new opportunities for advertisers and consumers to engage in some of those new trends as we move forward. To your other question, we had some huge failures in the social space. I don't know if anyone remembers Google Wave. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't so thrilled with that one either. Google Buzz is going away. So, we try, we launch, we iterate, and sometimes we have to pull back too. We definitely make mistakes. But you will continue to see more and more of the social, mobile, and local aspects moving into your existing experience.
For us, one of the things that we're, kind of challenged or trying to figure out right now is just access to content. We're used to creating content on a very campaign-based approach. So big holiday programs, summer programs, Super Bowl programs, go create a bunch of content, push it out to consumers, go dead for a couple of months until it's time for the next big campaign. And with technology and this convergence that you're referencing, Ken, the access and the need for content and always, that continuity of conversation with your consumers is something we're challenged with right now to figure out how do we organizationally structure, how do we create that much content, where do we get it from, how do we distribute it, and so that's a big thing we're working through as well.
I like the quote in the very beginning of the paper. It says, all marketing will need to be real permission in marketing by 2020. And so to me, real permission means the customer's in control, and to the extent these technologies can add value to their life and the problem they're trying to solve, then it'll be useful. If it's about us pushing more junk to them, it'll be terrible. So we'll need to find ways to extend our service, enhance our service, make the experience better so that customers opt into it. And if they do, then they'll be the winners, not us.
So one way that we try to make sure that we're relevant in social is by looking at localization. So we've got content management tools that allow us to push content to our field locations and allow them to push it through to the consumer or substitute something that they may have going on locally that's more important. So instead of having, there's one wall or news feed for DirecTV, there's one for AT&T UVerse or Verizon Fios. We have 20 because Cox in Phoenix is different than Cox in Las Vegas or San Diego and so on. So we're trying to be relevant to the consumer locally with this mixture of national and local messages.